AMN Drive Time is sponsored by Aishin, your trusted and reliable source for aftermarket automotive components and technology. Visit AishinAftermarket.com for more information.
Jon, welcome to AMN Drive Time, sponsored by our great friends at Aishin.
It's a pleasure to be here, Bill. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you at our headquarters in Akron today, Jon.
Yeah.
First and foremost, congrats on becoming the president of the Automotive Aftermarket Charitable Foundation.
Yes, thank you.
AACF, and welcome back to Babcock's Media.
Well, it's great to be here. You know, it's humbling. It's very humbling to be here at Babcock's, which was so wonderful to me in my career. So it's great to see all that you've done here, and of course, it's humbling to take on a leadership role with the foundation.
Well, they're lucky to have you, I'm sure,
Thank you.
Jon. So as you mentioned, Jon, you worked here for a number of years, but for those who don't know you, if in fact there is anybody in the aftermarket who doesn't know you, which is probably a long shot, but if there is someone that doesn't, tell us how you found the automotive aftermarket and worked your way up to where you are now, or perhaps the automotive aftermarket found you.
Yeah, kind of both. I mean, I didn't. A lot of folks in the aftermarket are quote unquote car people, right? And while I love cars, I wasn't mechanically inclined like whatsoever. So I didn't seek the automotive aftermarket. I don't know anybody truly does. They just kind of find their way into the automotive, which is really cool. But no, so for me, just was simply I got hired on at Timken down in Canton, Ohio. Right out of college. And, you know, it's interesting, the bulk of my time, I would say at Timken, I spent more in the industrial market with like Bearings Incorporated, which now goes under a different name, Motion Industries, you know, big industrial bearing distributors. I spent a lot of time with those types of companies, lots of time in the heavy duty market, and very little time servicing what was left of our Timken's automotive aftermarket at the time. But anyway, as I was fortunate enough to get promoted at Timken, ultimately they gave me the NAPA account. And that's what really, you know, really turned it on for me. I was so impressed with the NAPA culture, the NAPA system, how they did things. And it really drew me into the automotive aftermarket, if you will, was all of the time I spent on behalf of Timken taking care of NAPA and the entire NAPA system. So that's how it happened for me. I just was in the right place at the right time, I guess. I was pretty young to be in a role like that. But there wasn't a lot of folks at Timken that really, you know, wanted to do it. And, you know, I raised my hand right up and said, I'll do it, you know, because I did do some things out in the field with NAPA, and I liked it, met nice people, you know, so I was eager to do it. And so they gave me the chance, and from there, that's when my auto aftermarket career began.
So you mentioned, Jon, just for our audience, that you went to Timken right out of college. And
right.
For the sake of clarity, you were a football hero at Defiance College, weren't you?
A hero. I played football at Defiance College. Yeah. No, I had a lot of fun. I mean, that was it helped pay for college. That was primary motivating factor to do it. Fortunately, I guess God blessed me with enough skill to be able to do it. Had a lot of fun doing that, but there's a lot of discipline involved in all of that, and I certainly was not the most disciplined young man coming out of high school, right? And right, wrong, or indifferent, but you know, you had to do certain things in order to be able to put the helmet on and go on the field, right? You just had to keep up a certain standard, and that forced me to, you know, uphold that standard. And so, yeah, so I played football because number one, I loved it. And fancied myself a good player. I don't know if I was or wasn't, but it was the whole off the field regimen, you know, that I didn't know that I needed it, but I came to understand that I needed it, right? And that's how it went. That's how it went for me.
So Jon, You've been at this a long time. This is all, I think, sometimes a tough question for people because I think in today's world we all have lots of mentors, a little bit here and a little bit there versus one or two. Do you have any folks that have stood out for you over the course of your career that have given you good counsel or guidance?
Boy, yeah, I really do. I love the question. Mentoring's a big deal. I think, in anybody's career. I don't think you really, well, there certainly are exceptions to the rule, but I really think it's hard to truly advance. And there's a lot of different, interpretations of what does advance really mean, but regardless of all that, without mentors or without people that take an interest in you, I think it's a more difficult road to hoe, if you will. So I've been extremely blessed in my career that folks took an interest in me. And I just couldn't ever thank them enough. But right off the top of my head, back to my time at Timken. So Timken sends me to Texas. They trained you for 8 months, which not enough companies invest the time and energy and effort into training anymore. But back then, they trained you for 8 months before they'd even let you go into the field and make a sales call, right? So they trained for 8 months. They send me to Texas, and I meet my boss there, a man by the name of Don McFarland. And he was this Texas character, and I'm a kid from Ohio. I'd never been to Texas. I did not know what to expect. And, Don stood about 6'4", big boy, big belt buckle, 100% Texas. What you would envision in your mind. Don embodied all of it, the culture, everything. And I show up in a suit and tie, and and he's like looking at me, and he's got jeans on and a kind of a Western style shirt. And I'm like, I'm gonna kind of have to change my wardrobe, aren't I? He's like, yeah, you can't go out to West Texas wearing a tie. They'll think you're from the bank, and they don't like bankers. So Don was, a lovely, gracious, awesome human who I just could not have been placed in better hands than his. I love him to death. He passed away a couple years ago. It was really, really hard. His wife, Mary Frances. So he was a mentor for sure. I don't know that I could have gotten through those years and those times without somebody like him. And then as my career goes on, and of course I did allude to my time servicing NAPA on behalf of Timken. And in the NAPA system, I made the decision to remove Timken salespeople from having to service the NAPA account out in the marketplace. And I took on what NAPA has is a multi-line sales. So it's kind of like a manufacturer's rep group, but it's run and operated by GPC. Right out of GPC headquarters. Of course, they're all regional and they have regional offices. But anyway, the gentleman who was on top of the NAPA multi-line group was a gentleman by the name of Bill Labor. God rest his soul as well. Bill was, again, just the epitome of grace, class. Just, these people teach you, because they live it, they teach you integrity. They teach you, you just watch them and you start to emulate them. And that's true mentorship in my opinion. And but they also take an interest in you personally, which both of those men did. So I was tremendously blessed, again, to be handed off to them. And as my career has gone on too, I'm sitting next to you. A man who I consider a great mentor in my career as well. So you and Kathleen played a huge, Kathleen Schmatz, for the audience, just a huge role in teaching me the meaning of customer service and to really, really go the extra mile for the customer. You guys just embody that. You had the list of things, the principles to work by, the Babcock's principles to work by. So you guys taught me the importance of culture, establishing a great working culture, and that's mentorship. I hadn't really up to that point in time been exposed to things like that, where you were so adamant about returning a phone call in less than 24 hours. I do that today. I mean, those principles to work by that you folks established and ingrained into the culture here certainly have had a profound impact on my career. So I thank you for your mentorship in my career as well.
You're kind.
It's true. It's true. Easy to be kind when that's the truth.
So, Jon, throughout your career, and I've witnessed that in our time we've worked together, but you've been involved in a lot of industry organizations, given your time. Tell us how you began your industry involvement above and beyond and outside the 9-to-5 role.
The way it began was, again, my responsibilities at Timken, not only the NAPA account, but actually the entire automotive aftermarket was under my responsibility at like I said, too young of an age, but nobody else wanted to do it. So, so I had to represent Timken at these things called AWDA conferences. So off I went by myself, representing Timken at AWDA conferences, which were not, connected to Apex during that time. So this is going back to 1990, 1991. They were held, at this particular time, they were in Las Vegas, but they weren't combined with the show. It was like in September, maybe it was in February, I forget. But
it was both. It was in the fall, like September, October, and then at one point they did it in February.
Thank you. Thanks for the reminder.
It wasn't around Apex, but go ahead.
Right. So there I was, and of course, I didn't know anybody. Now, in the NAPA system, I had a nice network of colleagues and people that I worked with, and I was building relationships there. But in the independent aftermarket, I didn't know really anybody. And so I was sitting there alone representing my company, and it's quite an intimidating, and AWDA is just tremendous. It always has been. And so the awards night, right? You and I have attended many awards nights together and have sat in the audience there. And I remember sitting in my first AWDA conference, and they were presenting the awards, and I thought, this is fantastic. This is just so awesome that they recognize people that are giving back to the industry, volunteering of their time, or they've had a career of great, contributions through the work that they've done and the companies that they've built. I just thought it was like, that's awesome. I remember sitting there going, man, it'd be unbelievable if I were ever up on that stage recognized for anything. And then fast forward probably, what was it? I think 2002, I actually did get recognized with the Pursuit of Excellence Award, which brought me to tears. It brought me to tears because, I could hearken back on that moment, sitting by myself, knowing nobody in a room filled with, close to 1,000 people, and to have brought it to the point where I was recognized for my volunteerism was overwhelming to me. So it all started with AWDA, did a lot of, just got involved in their committee structure, started to meet a lot of folks, became the president of YES, the Young Executive Society, which ultimately, through various combinations and other things, has become Yang.
Yes.
Right? So, very, very proud of the heritage and the lineage there that I was able to participate in. But the great thing about YES in the AWDA structure is that if you were the president of YES, you got a seat on the board of AWDA. And you just can't buy that kind of exposure. You just can't. You get to sit there with potentially your largest customers on a board, operating this industry association, and have input, say something, maybe worthwhile, maybe the stupidest thing you could ever say. But anyway, there you are, and you're exposed to industry icons at the time, and over time have become industry icons. And you just can't beat that kind of exposure. So I was, I was smitten with it and convinced that industry volunteerism benefited not only the industry, but also benefited me personally, benefited whatever company I was going to represent in that venue, if you will. My company was going to get recognized. I personally would be looked at and recognized, and so that's really where it all began, was AWDA.
Jon, you have served on Auto Care Association boards.
Yes.
You've been on, I think, the Auto Care Association big board, right, in your time? Or?
I've been on the board and also the executive committee.
Got it. The Automotive Aftermarket Charitable Foundation, AACF, and you've been very involved in there and given your time to the industry elsewhere. What are the biggest lessons learned? You touched on it a little bit, but were there any like major lessons learned from all that engagement collectively?
Like, don't miss a meeting. You miss a meeting, you're going to get assigned a lot of tasks. So you show up, right? That's a lesson learned. Show up. Yeah, so, I think over time, you kind of learn how to participate, right? And you do have a voice. You do, if you decide to get into it and you decide that you want to be a volunteer, and kind of dive into all that the industry, is trying to do collectively, you have a voice because you're volunteering. So use your voice, right? But I would also caution to be very, very humble in those environments, which I think probably I had to learn. I'm probably not the world's most humble guy, but you need to be humble because you're going to be sitting alongside of very, very sharp, brilliant people, very successful folks who have great thoughts and great ideas and great contributions that they can make. So you just don't want to overstep your boundaries, so to speak. So I would say always be humble in those environments. I would first of all say, do it. Jump in. That's what I did. Dive right in, volunteer for a committee, get yourself on a committee, whatever it might take, whatever association it might be, involved with, just do it. Get there, because you're going to meet people. And then you're going to have the opportunity to contribute. You should contribute with great humbleness, hoping that your contributions are, taken up by the committee if they're worthwhile, or that there's good dialogue around whatever input you might have. So yeah, that's my advice. Be humble, but also the other thing, well, first of all, dive in, be humble, and build consensus. Because if you do have an idea that you feel very strongly about, that you think is really the right thing for that association, for the industry as a whole, whatever the case might be, you don't have to necessarily sell it around the table. When the coffee break comes, get somebody on your team, somebody who might be nodding in agreement, that you notice, and when you're presenting your case, so to speak, and start to build a consensus and get support for your idea that way. And then, you'll find you're making more of a majority kind of a idea or whatever the case might be for that committee to wrap their arms around something and take hold of it and get it done or get it accomplished. So that would be my advice for volunteering.
Yeah, no, Jon, you've done a great job. So recently, you were named the new president of AACF. That's quite an honor. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tell us about the post and the initiatives you'd like to see the foundation take under your leadership. And how would you like to make your mark? Or maybe you're not even thinking about that yet. And let me ask, how long is the term as president?
2 years.
2 years. And
Yeah.
you're just started.
Just started January 1.
So you're just sort of a month into this, less than a month into it.
Right. Yeah.
So tell us what your vision is. Give us the pitch for the organization.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to do it. Our organization has been around since really the 1950s. So it's been a long-running foundation, really a grassroots effort, so started small because a few folks, wonderful human beings, saw a need where, there was a colleague struggling, and put together the means by which they could help that person out. That's really how it started, and here it is today, where we've got 30 board members, and you're talking big companies represented at the very highest level, right? So the president of Bridgestone Firestone store operations is on our board. Yep. High-ranking folks like Wes Wise from O'Reilly on our board. So we've got very, very high-profile folks that volunteer to help us out and carry our foundation forward, because our intentions are very pure. We have very simple, very pure intentions. We want to help, and we can. We're blessed. We have the capability. We've got the funds. We can always use more funds. We're always, asking for donations, and rightfully so, because what we do is so very, very pure and so wonderfully helpful. So it is an honor to sit at the top, if you will, of this board and help operate, this foundation to continue doing its good work and hopefully expanding the work that we do. What do I want to try and accomplish during my time? Maybe a couple of things, if I can bore you some more. We've got to become a little bit more energetic as a board. We do have lofty, titled folks who are tremendously awesome, but their time is extremely limited. We want them, we need their input, we need their guidance, but in and around them, we do need some real doers. So we're kind of assessing the structure of our board and just kind of thinking about, okay, if, then who, right? That kind of approach. So maybe there'll be some board rotation, if you will, during my tenure. Not a lot. We love our consistency, and we love, the fact that we have very high-profile folks on our board. That's very important to us. But we've got to get a little more energetic. Even you know how media has changed over the years, and you know how communicating has changed over the years, and so we ourselves have to figure out better ways to communicate, better venues or ways to get our message out, if you will. So, and we need people that kind of know that and can help us in that regard. So that's one of them, the things that I'd like to see us do during my tenure. And then secondly, and probably more importantly, is we need to find more recipients. And so we've got the means by which we can help. We don't have enough people asking for help, not because there's not a need, but because they don't know that we exist, right? So what a shame. So I just looked at a case the other day, and I won't give out too many details, but because one of our board members reached out to somebody in the industry and asked a simple question, that person responded and said, I do know someone who could use help. Their shop flooded last year up in the Northeast and wiped out the entire business and wiped out their income, wiped out everything. And this gentleman is trying to open up again, trying to restart his business. He needs help. Perfect. We're here to help. So we're taking that case on, I believe. I'll need an update from our recipient committee, but that's a circumstance, a situation that when you think of the Charitable Foundation, you probably wouldn't think of something like that, right? Or other natural disasters where we've been able to really move quickly and execute very, very fast at getting funds to people who have been impacted by a natural disaster. Hurricane is a great example. So shops in the Florida area that were impacted by the hurricane over a year ago now, if they would have come to us for some kind of help, and some did, we're there for them. We can give instant help right away, or it can be a bigger, right, a more comprehensive way that we'll dive in and really help them with their business. So that's what we do at the foundation. We're like, you see those commercials, Aflac, right? It's like this safety net of additional insurance. Yep. Well, that's what we are for anybody employed in the automotive aftermarket. We're this safety net. Now, you're going to go, if you should unfortunately find yourself in need of help, you're going to tap into all the resources that you instantly have access to. Your own insurance, your company's insurance. Your company might have a fund, right, where they collect from employees and help out and stuff like that. And you're going to check all the boxes, and you still might find yourself in a situation where you're sinking still. Yeah. And all of the things that you've tapped into are tapped out. Come to us. We'll help. So, and we do this consistently. We've helped people over long periods of time, long stretches of time, and we've helped people one single check and done, and anything in between. So, my goal is to spread the word. You're helping me to do that by giving me this platform today, which I'm so thankful for. And we just need people to know who we are, what we do, and we've got a great website, so I would encourage everybody to, if you do just one thing as a result of perhaps watching the interview today, go to our website, which is aftermarketcharity.org, aftermarketcharity.org. Go there. There'll be videos there, testimonials. You'll see exactly how we help, and there'll be very, very easy ways to make a donation, or if there's somebody that that is in need and needs help, there's ways there for you to get that information over to us on the website, and we'll act on it instantly.
So, as you know, Jim Merle, my
Yes.
colleague at Babcock's, who you know well, has just
Yes.
joined the board.
Yes, he has.
And so we're hopeful that we're confident we can help you guys spread your story. Because you've been around since the 50s, so 70 years.
Yeah.
Geez Louise, we need to get the word out.
Well, you've done it over the years,
Yeah.
and you know that, and I know you know that. Babcock's has been tremendous in their support of our foundation, and of course having Jimmy on the board just draws you that much closer to what we're doing, and we love it. We thank you for allowing him to volunteer his time to help us out, and everybody knows Jim Merle.
Yep.
If everybody knows me, they know Jim, right? And so just by virtue of his presence in the industry and his recognition in the industry, he draws people to hopefully want to get to know who we are and what we do. So,
Jon, what are ways, people watching this, what are ways that aftermarket professionals can get involved with AACF? Is it just the 30 board members? Are there committees in addition, or is it just that 30? Or how could people jump in and be a part of the action?
The best way to jump in and be a part, there are a limited number of board seats, yes. There are committees underneath the board, Those committees are typically just staffed by the board members themselves.
Got it.
Will we take volunteer help if you're not on the board? Absolutely. Absolutely. Reach out to us. We use all the help we can get. But the best way to help us, I think, others might have other thoughts, but the best way to help us is spread the word. Spread the word. If you watch this interview today and you've never known about the Aftermarket Charitable Foundation, now that you know, and you know that we're here to help people who are down on their luck, people who are suffering from, could be medical reasons that they're suffering, could be that they suffered damage from a house fire. We just helped a young man in Sacramento who is I believe he's a driver for one of the battery truck companies, and his house burned down, totally by accident. Needed instant help. We provided it, and he writes a letter. It's just, if you were on our recipient committee, you'd probably end up crying more than, laughing for sure, because we're really there to help people, and we do help. So spread the word. That's the biggest thing. Go on LinkedIn and put up a post, or whatever social platform that you participate in or have a profile in, anything like that. Spread the word on behalf of our foundation, and let folks at all levels of the industry know who we are. The reason Firestone, as an example, is on our board because they operate over 2,000 shops.
Right.
And think of all those employees across all those shops. Same with O'Reilly, right? You've got, 6,000 stores. That's a lot of employees. I guarantee you there's somebody out there that's hurting for some reason.
Yep.
And could probably use a little bit of assistance, and we need to know who those folks are.
So even a grassroots recommendation, hey, my friend Charlie, my friend Susie needs some help, that would be additive for you guys.
Bring it on. We have to assess everything, and there's a process, but do not hesitate. Turn to us. Like I cited the one shop owner who was victimized by a flood.
Yep.
He had no idea who we are. We've been around for 50 years.
Right.
He's been a shop owner for, 20, 30 years.
Right.
No clue who we are. But that's the norm.
Sure.
That's not the exception. That's the norm. So we have to flip that. We have to turn it into, if you don't know who we are, that's the exception.
Yep.
And the norm is everybody knows the Aftermarket Charitable Foundation, and everybody knows that they're dedicated to helping us out and being there. We see it as an industry benefit.
Absolutely.
When you go to work for a company and you decide, well, I really like the benefits package here. Well, hey, when you go to work in the automotive aftermarket, here's another benefit that you probably don't know about. That there's this entity out there that's capable of helping you should, God forbid, you find yourself in a situation where you need that kind of help, right? So it's an aftermarket benefit, right? Scholarships are a big deal. We need them, right? And and that's a benefit of our industry. Coming to work in our industry, and maybe the way you got here was because you were awarded a scholarship.
Right.
That's a benefit. Our foundation is a benefit to being employed in this industry. And we would like all companies to express that to all of their employees. We don't care if you're 2-employee company out there or if you're, 25,000 employees. Let them know that there's an industry benefit available. And we'll help you. We've got a program, an awareness program, where we provide materials and information and videos to support the effort to spread the word. So again, all of it's at the website. Everything's available there.
Got it. John, nice job. Really well done.
Thank you.
If you've watched any drive times in the past, we do something called a lightning round.
Yes, I've seen that.
And we're gonna do that right now. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Stick shift or automatic?
Stick shift.
What's your dream car?
I'm a huge Jaguar fan. So I'm blessed enough to be able to drive one right now, and I love it. But my dream car would have to be the McLaren. I think it's the G50, the McLaren, the one that Gordon Murray built, and I think it's the G50. I'm not sure, but that would be my dream car.
I think I know the answer to this from.
And Steve Thorne would be pissed because he drives a Bugatti, and that thing is awesome. And I don't know if he still does or not, but that's an awesome car.
I think I know the answer because you touched on it earlier in our conversation. DIY or DIFM?
I'm DIFM.
I know you are.
Big time.
Now, day at the lake or day at the beach?
Oh, well.
You're sort of both.
Again, I'm blessed. I sort of have both. Day at the lake. I love the beach, but certain beaches, I love the lake and I love the beach. That's a hard question.
That's a hard question.
That's a tough one.
No one said this was easy, John. No one said this is going to be easy.
You should have gave me that one to prep on. Lake. I'm going to go with day at the lake.
Favorite restaurant in Cleveland?
Oh, wow.
Or favorite restaurants, plural?
I'm a West Sider, Clevelander, and Cabin Club is a premium steakhouse.
That's a good joint.
It's a great, I just love the building. I love the atmosphere.
Yes.
They make a great, drink, and they make a great steak. So it's simple, but it's refined, and I love it.
I should know the answer to this, and I don't.
Uh-huh.
I think I know the answer, maybe. Favorite Cleveland sports team?
It's the Cleveland Browns, unfortunately. So Cleveland Browns are my favorite Cleveland sports team. Yes.
Last question.
Okay.
Best golf course you've ever played anywhere in the world?
Pebble Beach. Muirfield's right there.
Those two good ones.
Muirfield's right there.
Two good ones.
But again, how blessed am I to even be able to answer that question in that way? Pebble Beach was... it's trite to say this, but it truly was a religious experience. I couldn't, growing up, and I won't get into it, but, you see that course on TV, and they're typically playing out there in February. They'll be there in a couple of weeks, right? And typically here, and kid from Lorraine is watching that on TV with his dad in February, where it's, 10 degrees outside, and we've got 80 feet of snow on the ground. And just shaking my head going, there can't be a place that beautiful on this earth. There just can't be. And then you're there. And then you play it. You're walking those same fairways, the same greens, the same everything. Everything looks exactly to your eye, the way they show it when you watch it on television. And, you just talk about being overwhelmed. You're just overwhelmed. I was, again, taken back by the spectacular beauty of that place. So, Pebble Beach.
John, great to have you on AMN Drive Time, sponsored by Aishan.
Thank you, Bill. It's a pleasure to be here, and I really, really appreciate the platform for the foundation. Can't thank you enough.
Got it.
AMN Drive Time is sponsored by Aishan, your trusted and reliable source for aftermarket automotive components and technology. Visit AishanAftermarket.com for more information.